Hi, I'm Dee Wallace, and I'm here with Chris Gordon on Hellblazer Biz.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, viewers and listeners, wherever you are in the world right now. You are tuned in to Hellblazer Biz, Conversations with the Stars, with your host, as always, me, Chris Gordon. If you are rejoining me, welcome back. Thank you. I'm glad you are here and glad for the support. And if you're joining me for the first time, welcome. Thanks for joining, and I hope you enjoy this and subscribe and listen to more. Today's guest, as you have heard, is the fantastic Dee Wallace, award-winning actress, acclaimed actress, and author as well. Perhaps best known for her role as Mary Tyler in the 1982 blockbuster film E.T. the Extraterrestrial. She's also had 265 credits plus to her name, including several horror films over the years like The Hills Have Eyes, The Howling, Cujo, more recently Jeepers Creepers Reborn, as well as so many appearances in some really, really cool TV shows over the years. And currently also in the new feature film Roswell Delirium, which is Richard Bakewell's film, who I interviewed the other day. And we'll be talking about that today. She's also an acclaimed author, six-time author. Most recently, she's written the book Born, and also Bapalapaloo, which is a children's book about the introduction to self-creation, as we'll also find out during our chat. She's also host of her own radio internet call-in show. So without further ado, I bring to you my fantastic interview discussion with amazing actress Dee Wallace. Thank you. I have the absolute awesome pleasure and honour to be talking with the award-winning and actress and author as well, six-time author, Dee Wallace. Dee, I've admired you for a long time as an actress, and I've got to say this is why I'm a little bit starstruck, perhaps, which is not seeing you here.
I'll take all of that I can get.
Brilliant, no worries. So we're here to talk about Roswell Delirium as well. So I'm trying to keep this very, very brief. Now, I've watched the film recently, and I loved it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and so I thought I'd have to reach out to you guys. And your character in there as well is so powerful. Even for the short time, it's very, very emotional.
Yeah, it was an emotional ride for me too, especially that last scene. I didn't really expect it to be quite that emotional, but when I got there and got into the character, she wanted it that way. And I mean, I think if you can understand that if you have children, if you put your children in someone's trust, I don't want to give the plot away, and everything gets upended, and you don't even know what's happened to your child. It's probably the most frightening thing for a parent. I know I lost my daughter in FAO Schwartz one day in New York. And I can close my eyes and literally, viscerally go back to the panic of that moment.
I can imagine. It's FAO Schwartz is a huge store as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do get that. You get that panic of where have they gone.
I love this film because it's intellectual and yet incredibly creatively entertaining and powerful. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it brings up all kinds of questions.
It does. Also. I mean, I was speaking to Rick, and I told him I had to watch it twice because I must have been working on at the time and when watching the first time, and I kind of missed the end bit, and then the second time I was like, oh wow, and it really does hit. So
it's not like a Marvel movie that you can do the laundry and polish your nails and everything while it's on. To get the full impact of the movie, you have to be very present to follow what's happening. It's really a psychological drama is what it is.
It is, definitely. And that's the kind of film I love. You say you've got the popcorn movies, but I really love one where you can get your teeth into it and you can just sit and concentrate and focus. Too. Okay, so what kind of attracted you to the story? I mean, was it the script? Is that what you saw in the script when you read it through?
Well, sure. First, I look at the script and see if it's written well. And secondly, most importantly, do I know and understand the character, and can I do service to bringing her to life? Because if I don't feel her right away, if I don't know her right away, I usually don't take the part.
Okay, that's very interesting. That was another question of mine. Actually, was how do you, how do you prepare for the role? So when it's lovely to hear that when you read that script, you've got to feel that character straight away. So how do you go? What kind of preparations do you do yourself when you've got the role and you're about to go in?
I get my energy up very, very high, and I throw all my energy toward the person or the rabid dog or the werewolf or whatever my connection is. And then I turn it over to the character. I know that sounds airy-fairy, but it really is a definitive technique that I learned when I studied with Charles Conrad. And when I found that technique, it gave me freedom as an actress. So from E.T., Cujo, all the major films that I've done, I've always used this technique. And magical things happen, like the scene that I did in E.T., the big dinner table scene, and he ends up saying, well, Dad's in Mexico with Sally, and Mary took such a hit on that, and I felt the tears coming up, and I got up and left the table because I thought, I don't want the kids to see me cry. So Stephen came over and said, Dee, why did you get up and leave the table? That's not in the script. And I explained to him what happened. And he looked at me and turned around and said, guys, you have 30 minutes. I need you to put in a wall here and build a sink with running water. So he could take me over to the sink from the table and then bring me into that big close-up where I say, he hates Mexico. And it all happened because all of us trusted following that very real instinct that the character had.
That's fascinating. That really is, especially about that thing. Because I grew up with E.T. It's still one of my favourite films. It's brilliant.
Me too.
It's such a great thing to hear. I mean, I've heard it a few times. That's the way to get into it. There's a lovely actress called Erin Burns, and she worked on a film called Cell with Samuel Jackson. And you've just explained exactly, because I think there's a scene where her brother had died in the film, and they were walking off, and she just decided in the moment her character would want to see him again, and she said she turned to go back, and she just felt this big arm come across her chest, because Sam Jackson again knew exactly instinctively what she was doing.
Yeah,
I was like, you don't want to do it. Remember him how he was, and all that was, just like that. It was just all ad-libbed, because it's such a great way to learn your craft, to be able to just, let the character take it, I believe.
Oh, yeah. And it's really freedom, because you don't have to worry about making wrong or right choices. You're not in your head. You really are able to live in the moment and bring the moment alive in a very real way.
Definitely. It's fascinating, and it makes it so much better to watch a film. When you can see the cast and everyone getting so involved in that way, because it makes something special of the movie itself. Like Roswell Delirium, I think everyone in that film really sort of gelled.
Totally invested. Yeah.
Yeah. The performances were just phenomenal from everybody in there.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, and like I say, without spoiling it again, I say the scenes which you're in, it really does hit, because you can relate so well to the character. and yourself
Thank
obviously in the
you.
film, and you're just like, wow.
Not
It's
one of my prettier parts, is it?
it was a good, powerful film. So what's the how would you describe was the overall theme or message from the film from your perspective?
Oh, I think there's several, actually. I think it asks the audience to really, what do I believe about aliens? What do I believe about them visiting?
Mm-hmm.
It brings up a lot about mental illness, and it brings up a lot of questions about perception. I think that's one of the things that it's serving right now, especially in our country, because how you see the world and the perception that you have of the world literally defines your experience in the world. And those lines get very crossed for many of us these days. It's like we don't know what to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go, oh my God, I've got to believe something. I've got to make up my mind and believe something. And oftentimes it's not the truth that we're believing.
Yeah, very eloquently put that, Dee. But you're right.
Thank you.
It's yeah, it's not just in America; it's over here as well. You know, it's very, very current topic, some things, and of
Yeah.
what you do believe. And I was going to say, speaking to Richard the other day, and that's pretty much the message as well, was the power of it. But it's all the visual cinematography of like making it setting it in the 80s, and I said there was obviously you had the likenesses to COVID because of the masks and all the way people were behaving, and like the cough. So that's probably just spoiled it for some, but that kind of thing. It was very much.
Yeah.
It was so fantastically well thought out in that respect as well. I thought it was linking the current with some of the past.
Absolutely. And that takes a very sensitive director who knows what they want and is open to, well, again, the magic of the moment that the actor or the cinematographer or even the editor, when he's putting it together, brings in. You have to, I think in any creative endeavor, you have to go into it knowing exactly what your purpose is, what your choices are, where you want to take it, and then let go and let the magic happen.
Excellent. Yeah. And like you say, when everyone does that again, it makes such a great product at the end of it as well, because you can all feed off each other.
Yes.
It's great. So not just the actors, as like you say, the directors, even the cast and the crew, that everyone symbiotic. I think Richard's explained it lovely. I think it was the final scene, the last scene. I think it was with Ashton and Ari. The prison. There's a prison scene, but he said they hadn't met each other for 3 months, and apparently after they did the scene, even the crew were just like, they're like jaws on the floor, because it was just, everyone was just so blown away by it, because it was just one of those moments that everyone was so engrossed and involved in the film. It comes through on screen. It really does.
Yeah, and Richard created a beautiful, trusting, warm, and yet very focused set.
Yeah.
We all had a lot of respect for each other. I don't know, maybe I had more credits than a lot of people, but that was never a focus on this set. The focus was, how do we serve the material and bring this to life in the best way possible?
Excellent.
And that's always when you get the best product.
Definitely. Everyone comes together and works together in harmony.
Actually, it's a really good metaphor for life.
It is, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all we need to do.
If we could
everyone
just
did
come
that
together, stop judging each other, and work together for the greater good, it would be so simple.
It would be. It would be. That kind of brings me on to my next questions, because not only with the film, you obviously are also a 6-time author, and the latest ones, I believe, are Born, and I'm going to try and pronounce Bubble. Is that correct?
Yes. Bapalapaloo, you got it.
Well, hey,
Bapalapaloo is a children's book that teaches at a very early age the power of self-creation. You know, I'm a clairaudient channel, and I have been doing healing work for 35 years. Born is literally the formula for the creation process. The first thing you have to get in place is you have to know what you want. And you would be surprised how almost everybody I work with, because I do privates with people all over the world every day, it takes us a good 10 minutes for them to actually say succinctly what it is they want. And most people, by the way, start saying what they want by saying what they don't want.
Right.
So I'll say, okay, what do you want to work on? Well, I don't like it because I don't have enough money. Good. What do you want to work on? Well, you know, I feel unsafe in the world because I don't have enough money. This can go on for 10 minutes until they get so annoyed with me. They go, God, Dee, I want more money. And I said, yes, but that's the first time you've told me what you want. So if the universe is partnering with us, and it is, you don't want to keep saying what you don't want, because brain science will tell you that your brain sees you not having what you want.
Yeah.
So you got to know what you want. You got to commit to it, and then you got to love it. If you want money, love money. If you want health, love a healthy body. Quit focusing on what's wrong with your body. Because whatever you focus on, you create more of, and that's brain science. So I combine brain science and spirituality and all that in describing the formula for manifestation in Born.
I'm gonna have to read that now, because that's actually sounds really interesting. I may even end up booking a session with you to go through it, because it sounds.
I mean, I get emails daily. Oh my God, I picked up your book Born, and I looked at it and I went, "Oh, this looks awful simple." Yes, you know, I often joke, God created the world in 7 days. How hard could it be? But we just want to struggle and make it hard because we have been taught from verbally and from watching all of the first gods in our lives, our parents and our grandparents, that the harder you work, the more you struggle, the more you deserve to get part of what you want. That's what most of us are taught. And we've got to reteach ourselves, because they ain't gonna.
That's very true. Very apt as well at the moment, because you're right. Because you know, my normal day job is 40 odd hours a week working, and all it's doing is paying the bills, and you know, not much. It's the enjoyment is kind of gone, because it's just like all you do, you work to live. No, you live to work, should I say? And that's not right.
No, I get up every day, Chris, and I would say, okay, I'm the creator of my life. I'm here to learn free will. How can I make my job more exciting today?
It's a great way to
Just
look at it.
give it a go and see what changes at work. You'll be surprised.
That is a great way to look at it. I do start doing little bits of that by throwing different aspects of training and stuff, and reaching out and being proactive to try, like you say, make it interesting. But I'm definitely going to buy Born and read it, because it's fascinating. So you might hear from me again as I reach out to maybe take one of your sessions on that one.
Well, you let me know how you like the book. Again, it's a very easy read, everybody. I have great respect for Eckhart Tolle. Cannot get through his books. I wanted to write a book that was simple and to the point where every Joe Blow could understand it.
Fantastic.
So I did.
Which is what we need, because I say there are books out there, like you say, they just get so complex, like by chapter 1 or chapter 2, and it's just blown because you just can't follow it.
The world is complex enough, I think.
It is. So what's your writing process then? Because obviously you've written quite a few of these books, and obviously I know you've had 35 years in this.
I write like I act. I channel.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll sit down and go, okay, what should this chapter be? What can I write in this chapter that will serve the most people to expand in their lives? And I work with a pendulum, and I always get an answer like that. And then I've got where I'm going to go, the choice of what that chapter is. And I sit down and start writing, and it just kind of writes itself. You know what I'm writing now?
Go on.
I'm very excited about this. I'm writing a book called Horror Stories from a Life in Horror Films.
Oh, wow.
About all the behind the scenes, horrific stuff that happens when you're shooting horror films.
I can imagine. I mean, some of the ones you've been, like, the Cujo and everything. And
yeah.
You can...
I have a very long chapter on Cujo.
Oh, that sounds awesome! I'm a huge horror fan, so that's another one which I'm going to put on my list to when it comes out to watch.
Yeah,
to read.
It's going to be fun.
It just sounds great, because I say, talking to you as well, the whole experience of you seem to be able to live your life in that such a way that you do your channel, the way you can channel your, say, the spirituality side of where you live, just channels its way through into all these artistic outlets and artistic talents over the years.
Yeah, and anybody can channel. Everybody does channel. Kids channel all the time. We call them their imaginary friends, and we discount the information that comes into them. But if anybody's ever gone, oh, I haven't talked to so-and-so in so long, I should call them, and the next day they call, that's channeling. You're picking up the information of the connection of energy between the two of you. That's all channeling is. It's understanding the information that comes in that's the biggest challenge.
So I'm blown away. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. It's really good. And you're right. The kids do have the imagination. I'm 48 and I've still got a really big imagination as well. So I'm quite proud of that.
You don't ever want to lose your imagination.
No, people always ridicule me for it. And they say, "Come on, you're an adult." It's like, why? Why should I?
Well, according to Einstein, all of his greatest breakthroughs were through his imagination, not through his mental mind. So throw that back at him, Chris.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah, Einstein wouldn't have had half the stuff or any of the stuff if it hadn't been for his imagination. And I'm sure that's probably the same for Da Vinci and everybody like that as you go back in history. Oh, Da Vinci especially. Helicopters and everything. That's pure imagination at the time. So,
yeah,
we wouldn't have any of those designs. Excellent. And as I could sort of come to the end now, is there a message that you'd like to get out to people who are watching or listening to this show?
Love yourself. Love yourself more. You want to create the life you want, it's got to start with self-love. Because, look, who do we want to give everything to? The people we love. We are, if we're on the list at all, we're at the end. So, again, God and society and your friends and your family are going to love you a lot more if you're humble, if you keep yourself small, and if you give yourself up to take care of everybody else. it's a false teaching. In the good book, it says, these miracles and more will you do also. Can't perform miracles if you don't accept your own creative power.
Fantastic, thank you. Wow, that was fantastic. I give huge thanks to Dee Wallace for allowing me to chat to her for that. I hope you've all enjoyed that episode and the interview. If you have, please subscribe to Hellblazer Biz on YouTube or any of your podcast apps. And yeah, be notified when more interviews drop. There are plenty more to come. Thank you very much for joining me. This has been Chris Gordon on Hellblazer Biz, talking to the amazing Dee Wallace.